conditions of the sanitary condition of our country and those territories which are linked with our country when we talk about the commercial area. Now we're going to leave you with Horacio Bórquez Contri, who is a veterinarian director, national director of the National Livestock and Agriculture Service. When we talk about the Cono Sud. Thank you very much, Veronica. May you have a very good day. Everyone, first of all, I want to thank the organization for this event. Of course, FISUR, ASAGO, the corporation, the meat corporations, APRO Chile, the regional government of Los Lagos. This is an initiative which is very, very important at the moment that we have to discuss, as Gaston was talking about, and as we have seen other presentations, a little bit of the future and development of our livestock, especially the beef, the bovine. I also want to say hello to each one of the speakers and congratulate you because effectively, even though I've had not the opportunity to see all of you, you have refreshed in a certain way the knowledge and you have put it under perspective. Anything that has to do with the sustainability, which is part of the pillars that our agriculture ministry has from the Piñera presidency. The truth is, just as Veronica was talking about, the title is very suggestive because as we began organizing and we began seeing new things, we began to incorporate them into this conversation. And effectively, we were going to talk about three subjects. One has to do with the modernization of the typification system of the Chilean bovine. The other one is to see what are the sanitary changes that are happening in the southern region, especially after the had, and something that is fundamental for us, which is the traceability. To be able to have a traceability, look at from the concept that we had from the sanitary outlook. Not too long ago, in spite of the fact that have been seen from the certification outlook, because it's fundamental for any one of the countries in the world. But I want to go back to emphasize that our traceability system in the animals is a sanitary. You have seen the importance of the traceability in this pandemic, where one of the problems that we have had to be able to control it, it seems like is that our traceability system has not been the best from the point of view, from the human point of view. So if you would allow me, I'm going to begin my presentation. Advances, because the truth is, what we are doing is to change one of the decrees when we talk about the concept of typification. Those who are in the livestock business for many years, we began to have a permanent conversation of these 20 years that the typification has been in Chile. And always, it came after many discussions between all of the meat chain. We never had an agreement to modify or to change or do something with our typification regulation, which is incorporated in the law. However, a national committee of the livestock about 2 years ago the chain, which included the incorporation of meat, the meat association, many different associations. The Guild of the Meat Producers had the agreement to study a modification to our regulation. I want to clear up that the Carne was not agreement to make a modification, and the majority were agreed with this. What does this mean of what we could do? Mainly, we came up with the deduction that one of the things that we could do, or we should do, is to withdraw the obligation of labeling the category of our cattle at the consumer's levels. The typification has to do with the typification of us. And it does not give effectively much background about the quality of that meat. We took a route which was to define two things, two types of seals, two types of obligations, obligatory, meat that is produced. We're going to explain this a little bit better, and a voluntary. A voluntary seal which would define some of the characteristics of quality characteristics of the meat per se. And after advisement that ODEPA did to recognize some of the attributes which were validated by the consumer, then we saw the possibility of generating these two certificates. Today, this was sent to the economy minister, who understands also who understands that he has to sign this regulation. He was in agreement. And so now we have a proposition. It's more than a proposition. It has already been drafted of this new regulation. We wanted to put an example which could give us a vision of why. We all know, and those of us who work at some moment in the meat world and who have worked from the government and the regulation part, we have found that 90%, to say something real, were animals of the B category. A visit that we did with in more than one supermarket, I said, you see all of this meat is B. Do you see any difference? Definitely you cannot see any difference. But all of that, I said, then how do you choose? It's B. But yes, I know, but how do you choose? And this mainly has to do with, if you look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 classes of animals that could go into this category B. The second thing we looked at were the teeth. To give us an idea of the age. And the third thing we see were the coverage degree that this channel would have. It could be degree 1, 2, or 3. But we never considered something that is intrinsic in the quality of the meat around the world, which would be without looking at this and other characteristics, we could have a product or a meat that would give us different kinds of meats, and always under the same category. So in general, it did not guarantee tenderness, taste, juicy, juiciness. So clearly the consumer has always looked for in this meat product. They don't come obligatory to the cuts. The certification classification does not go to the cuts. And in general, they use intrinsic factors like the color of the muscle, the marbling, the color of the fat. The current system here in Chile, the category of the channels is being transposed in an obligatory way, letting us know the category of the channel to the consumer. The second thing is the typification parameters. At one moment, some or more finished out being the kind of animal to be able to typify the channels. The dentary timeline and also the fat coverage gave us a certain category. What is the objective of this? We begin talking about this to see this proposal. It's to favor the regulation harmony between Chile and the rest of the world. We thought that this was very important. To not link the channel category as a quality parameter of the meat at the level of the consumer. In this category, we thought there would be many different kinds of meat quality that would be different. Have a higher offer of products, cuts from different channels. In some cuts, for instance, the fillet and other portions makes it a differentiation. Have not been so observed by the consumer because we don't see big differences. To give incentives to the J to generate better products based on the attributes of quality and to be more efficient in supervising the public services, because the truth is it's very difficult to supervise our regulation system. What are some of the main modifications that have been done? The typification of the bovine channels will continue being obligatory, but it will not be extended to the portions. We take away the obligation of labeling the channel canal when we talk about the typification lettering of the bovine meat cuts. We are going to incorporate certificates with the idea of identifying the beef, the national beef from the imported beef. And this seal at the first will be obligatory. And it will be for meat that is coming from animals that were born, raised, and slaughtered in Chile, or processed in Chile. So we need to keep it very clear that the Chilean meat are those that are born, raised, and processed in Chile. And at the same time, we have a voluntary certificate for those who also want to prove that the Chilean beef can be said it's Chilean meat, and it's going to have a seal that is voluntary. Everyone will decide if they want to have it, if it has the merit for meats that are in packaged but has the obligatory certificate. We put it the green seal. This can change in case someone has a problem with the name. For the low fatty content and marbled, because in these studies they have identified that there were a lot of people who do not want meat with fat and others that do, like those who like the barbecue, they like meat with more fat, the marbled, and that they have some difference in the tastes. Some people think that the meats with low fatty contents are healthier than those that have fatty contents. The proposal for the obligatory seal, these are those that are for the animals that are born in Chile, that are processed in Chile, and with the typified corpses in Chile. And this could be a big parameter to be able to define groups that between the processing industry, the farmers that are going to commercialize, they would have a parameter of identification of the categories and the interests that each one of the sellers could have. And the seal will not be transferred. It will not be transferred to the letters and to the cuts. The voluntary seals, we said, we will call it the green seal, but it will be categorized as voluntary. These are animals with a maximum of 4 permanent teeth, according to the Chilean standard 1423, practically the letter V. You can see all of the animals from the letter V with a grade 1 with the fatty coverage because of the age and other characteristics, for having the zero fatty coverage, and they can assure that this animal has a low age. Also, we can see the marmalade with a degree 0-1 with a pale red muscle, a cherry red, or a very intense red with a pH less or equal to 5.8. According to what has been pointed out from another Chilean standard, which is written, which is the 3275, which is a regulation of quality of meat, which was already in our country. And it was complicated for some or not applied, depends on what each one wanted to do. As an elemental element, it should be included with she must comply with the residual control program. This is to assure us to say that the Chilean animals do not have damaging residues for the humans. And here we have the images that we saw at the very beginning. Here we see the channel, grade V, grade 0, and grade 1, the marbled, plus the characteristics of the color of the meat, red, a pale red, or cherry red. And complying with the residues program for the livestock seals. And these, we can see the categories of B, C, and U with the coverage of 2 and 3 according to the 1306 Chilean standard, except for the bulls according to the 1423 Chilean standard. The marbles can go with the meats that we would call the fatter meats. Grade 2, 3, and 4, the color of the pale red or cherry red or an intense red with the pH, which is the same or less as 5.8 according to what is pointed out, and with the 3275 Chilean standard. Also, it must comply with the residual control program of the livestock in agriculture service. And here we have the same, what this means. The channels with the degrees, it could be VCU with the coverage fatty of 2 and 3, and with the same characteristics that we have designed or we have seen before. The graphic characteristic of the seal will be determined by the livestock and agriculture service, because we are interested that this be effectively will identify all of us. The identity of the certifying entities are those that are written in the SAG that will certify the requirements. So they need to increase the scope of their certification in these aspects that we are pointing out with the other regulation. And the SAG will supervise the compliance of what is pointed out in this article. And for the certification entity, they can have the certificate in the Article 26 with the provisional characteristics as they're doing all of the procedures. They need to be inscribed and they need to request the scope of their accreditation. The SAG will do the provisional inscriptions and the provisional inscription will be enforced until they have a definite characteristic. It will be enforced of this regulation. It will be enforced after a year of this will be published in the official newspaper of Chile. Just to put it under context, some of the results that we have seen with the citizen consultation, more than 520 people answered. We received answers from everywhere around the world with some concentration in the consumers because this was at the level of the consumers in the metropolitan area. But a very important people answered of the only 70% says that they know this regulation. So therefore the public that participated has certain knowledge of what is the enforced regulation and what they were proposing. The majority answered that they were in favor of the changes that was being proposed to the current proposals. So they could change it for the letters to the certificates. So the answer in favor was an agreement or disagreement, and all of the questions, it was over 60%. So it seems like the majority of the systems are in favor of the changes of the regulation. In the case of the answers, we registered an approval of around 80%. That means that this certificate, this broad certificate and the smaller one, has an acceptance of what the consumer wants of his product, his meat product. In this moment, Chile, as a member of the OMC, notified the International Conference of this change in our regulation. The limited date was 60 days for the notification. The countries that presented observations was the United States, Brazil, and India. They said that the use of the quality seal for the national producers have different, the similar product. And they said that the World Organization of Trading in their article, according to the OTC, that the members will assure that in regards of the technical regulations that will be given to the imported products and to any of the members will have a favorable dealings that will be granted to products that are similar to what is produced nationally. And they are requesting the use of the quality seals in imported products. What I'm trying to say, today there is no restriction. There is no restriction so that the imported meat can come in with quality. In fact, I have seen more than one. They are being sold in the supermarket. So our answer was is we will incorporate specifically in the Article 23 that the imported products can include their seals, but that their seals be official or non-official, like the differentiation, what we were expecting from the Chilean seals. is what we have answered to the ONC, and we are waiting for their answer to continue with the procedures that we need to do in the Ministry of Agriculture. And the Economy Ministry to be able to begin to give the President the concern of this new decree that we started with this change needs to be evaluated to be able to know exactly what were the effects that we think would have the possibility of not only obtaining these seals, but the industry per se will generate other seals which would allow us for the consumer to have the possibility of choosing better. That was what I wanted to say regarding of how the regulation is going and the changes of in the typification. I'm going to drink a little bit of water because I've talked too much. And we're going to go to another question that they asked me to answer, which is very interesting when it comes to the point of view, what can happen, what Gaston has been talking about. Because here we are going to see there will be changes which are clearly going to affect, and we need to find commercialization system and production systems that will allow us to find the way that we are going to trade from what we are producing in our country. And these are changes that have been produced in the last years of the declaration of the condition of being free from the foot and mouth disease, where we are not practicing the vaccination anymore. And obviously in the free market, the world market, effectively, they have some incidences, and it decreases some of the competitive issue with the Chilean market when it was exclusively from Latin America without any vaccination. And if you can see here, between 2020 and 2021, how you can see zones that are being colored in. I think it's, I'm a little colorblind, I think it's a green color and a lighter green. How they begin to incorporate areas that a year ago or 2 years ago, they were considered free with vaccination, but they stopped being free with vaccination. And now they have become part of these free zones without vaccination. If you can see the cheese pie that we see, or the pie that we see on the right-hand side, we had areas not free, 4%, extreme, Venezuela, and some parts of Colombia, where sometimes they still have this virus circulating. And it's been a long time ago now that we are not seeing any foot and mouth virus. And we see in 2020, without vaccination, 55% of the Latin American livestock. And with vaccination, free, 91%. But now this means that the commercialization of the bone was completely prohibited for countries that are buying the animals or that buy meat that are free from vaccination. In 2021, the OIE, not too long ago, recognizes a series of places, new places, that are free without vaccination. What this means is that a number of animals that we had about 5% of the previous year, today they are 26 of the population of livestock here in South America. And with vaccination, then we go from 91 to 80%. Here I want to show you some numbers so that we can realize what this means. Until 2020, for the OIE in Santa Catalina, which was known in 2017, that had a number of animals around 5 million. And it's the only state or zone recognized in Chile to Brazil without vaccination. In 2021, incorporated was a block which is incorporating the Acre state, Rondônia, some communities in the Amazon, and 5 city halls in Mato Grosso. And if you look and see, Acre has 3 million heads, Rondônia almost 15 million heads, Amazonas and these 14 states 1 million and more heads, and Mato Grosso of Brazil only in 5 city halls has 2 million plus heads. Rio Grande do Sul, which is also being incorporated in 2021, has 12 million heads, and Paraná, also incorporated in 2021, have 8 million. So therefore, this data, I think, has some importance for those who are commercializing and producing beef. We go from 4 million of heads that can offer free of without vaccination to 48 million from 1 year to the next. As I said, Chile has not recognized these conditions that were declared free without vaccination by the OIE. But you must understand that not too long from now, we will have to find a way to recognize them because we participate in the OIE and we are part, and we have not affirmed the OIE to be able to keep our animal health condition in our country. When we talk about beef commercialization, we go from 4 million heads to 48 million heads. This other data is very interesting. In case of the trading of the pork, which was recognized free of the disease of the classic porcine plague, they will have 12 million heads of pork available, which Chile has about 3 million. This is some background that I think that for those who are in this guild will know that it's interesting. In some study or some conversation that the people gave us of the foot-mouth plan, they are considering each year to increase the number of places where they are recognizing it without vaccination. So I think that this is going to change the situation in 5-10 years more, but we need to be prepared of what this means. And finally, I want to tell you a curiosity that we have done as a traceability for us is too much. It's just way too much important for us. We have done some advances in this, which has to do mainly with the possibility that every time more and more producers, wherever they are, can work their traceability program and can operate better, easier. And for this, we launched a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, in the central part of our country. We call it CPEC Mobile. And in Los Lagos also, it would have been launched 2 days later. And the CPEC Mobile, the only thing it is to try to find some answers that make sense for the users to have a tool which allow them to operate in the rural areas where there is no internet yet. Whereas we all know the internet is not very good in these areas. In fact, very close to the big cities and the capitals around the world. This application can work clearly in any place. That's why we called it CPEC Mobile, and we changed its name CPEC Online because it works as good online as without internet. And the purpose of this is to make this tool more available, since it can operate from any kind of device, tablet, cell phone, and also the personal computers. This is the website, which is the register, which you need to go into. And to do a brief story, CPEC is being affirmed or it will start earlier, but in 2010, CPEC was born for the use of the Livestock and Agriculture Service. But in 2011, with a lot of work and a lot of difficulty, we need to thank especially the president of Samoa during that time, which helped us with the computer system, who is the current president of SEC. Cristiana, who helped us quite a lot during this time and to work with this. In 2012, CPEC was CPEC Web, so that anyone can go in, and behind there, after a lot of efforts of keeping it an improvement, today we have a system with a lot more reliability. It's not free from errors, but it's a whole lot more reliable than what CPEC was before. In the future, this CPEC Mobile as I said, CPEC Mobile was born in 2021. It's for the use of the mobile devices like smartphones and tablets. And during this first case, because we are going to be modifying it, we are going to generate it formula of the animal movement online with the internet or without internet. Here you can see how it looks on a cell phone and the application that it has, accepts the number of the days, etc. And immediately then you can incorporate and work on it. It has the formula of the animal movement, which will be on your phone, in your computer, in your tablet. And at the moment that you arrive where there is internet, you transfer it and you can go to the national system and you can see all of the characteristics of something that we couldn't do before. As I was saying, it would allow you to emit the FMA from the remote areas with the use of the phone with or without internet coverage, to the movement of your animals complying with the demands that the agriculture and livestock services have given without any papers, and something that is very important for the cost of production without any papers, and it's free. and without papers. That's very important for the sustainability, and free because it's good for your pocket. And at the end of everything, what we are looking for as part of the concepts that the livestock has is to put the technology at the service of the rural services and to modernize everything that can be possible to the services of the livestock and agricultural services for the good of the development of the rural development. I thank you so much for listening to me. And here these news that could be interesting to all of us, and we are available for any question, just as long as I can answer them, because I don't know everything. So thank you so much, Veronica. Thank you so much for those who were listening to me, and we are available for any kind of questions that are necessary. Thank you so much, Director, for your presentations. Your 3 issues that were in your presentation are very broad interest for all of the producers and for the meat chain in general. And I have the question regarding the estimated date where we can have the signing of the decree of the president when we talk about the modification of the typifications. A couple of weeks ago, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs sent us a response to the ONC, and we are waiting that not longer than 30 days we will have the answer to be able to give the signing of the ministers and of course of the president. We hope that it will be before 2 or 3 months more. Thank you. On the other hand, we have a question regarding the zoo condition of our neighbors. What is your appreciation? Because you huge trajectory in the industrial of the beef. What is your appreciation of the impact that this new situation or condition of our neighboring countries, when talking about commercializing the beef here in Chile? Undoubtedly, I just got through showing, Gaston just got through showing the value and the growth of the prices of beef with bone in our country. And this is obvious because the exports in Chile are around 60% of what we are consuming. And this is all meat without bones. And I think that the competition, because today, as far as I understand it, that a big part of the exports that we are doing to China is meat with bones. So we are going to have to compete with more meat producers around the world of meat that can arrive with bones from the countries that are buying free of the foot and mouth without vaccination. And I think that this will be the differences of price that we have today, and they will be getting closer because there will be a higher offer of products with bones in the world market. And there we will be able to see the industry, the producers, if they want to continue working with these kind of characteristics, or are they going to have to change some of the niches of special meats with more sustainability and with other characteristics, which would allow us to go back to make us a difference in the meat that they are requesting from us. And this is something that is not a short term. So this will not also be 3 or 4 years more. It will increase. But to have all Latin America in 10 years, yes, it will all will be free from foot and mouth. We don't know what's going to happen in Venezuela because we never know what's going to happen in Venezuela. Thank you so much. Another question related to the seals, the typification. How can you assure the marbles only, how are they going to evaluate the marbling? What happens is the typification of today is being done. The typification per se is being done without cutting the meat. It goes through the whole channel. But in order to classify the second seal, we will have to cut the animal. And the place where you're cutting the animal is normally where you measure the marbling. Thank you. We thank you in the name of the Meat Corporation and also the SAGO, your availability to do this very interesting presentation. We think that it's been very clear and very synthetic of processes that have been very, very long and have had these conclusions that today we are having access to. So thank you so much for your participation. And we're going to say goodbye to you to free you from this activity. And also we want to free our people who are listening. Thank you for being with us throughout the morning. And we'll see you at 3 o'clock to be able to see this economic sustainability of this seminar. Thank you so much. Thank you, Veronica. A big hug for everyone. And say that SAG is available for the meat chain for whatever you might need to discuss.